All right, we are wrapping things up. The final exam is rapidly approaching. What I would like to talk about, uh, is exam two, a little bit about exam three, and then kind of what to expect for the final. So there is stuff posted about the final online, but I'm going to kind of go over it again here so you're ready. But before we move on, exam two, it happens what it happens. It was a little lower average, still pretty good though. I mean, class average was still about an 85, so that's still pretty good in my opinion. A couple of y'all did a little worse than you probably did on the first test. Um, Kind of expected because, I've been doing this a long time and I know the material, the trigonometry sometimes can be a little confusing. Okay. Um, there's several examples. If there was a magic pill or a magic potion or something I could say to make you just get it, believe me, I would, but it just doesn't work that way. Some people pick up on things quicker than others. Some people put in more time than others. And that's just the way it is. Some people just get it quicker, and like I said, some people put the time in to get it quicker. So you got to figure out where you lie in this. Did you put really enough time in? Did you really watch the videos? Did you really do the practice? Whatever you did. And if you're doing all that and you're still struggling, just keep it up and maybe it'll hit you all of a sudden. Because really, to do trigonometry, it involves algebra skills. Okay, that's the solving. That's where algebra teaches you how to solve things. So you have to have good solving skills. Now, what I noticed, one thing I did notice, and I fixed it on your test, so many of your scores came up, was rounding. Okay, we're still rounding incorrectly. So I am going to attach, along with this video, I'm going to attach a short little video on rounding. Who knew? I do this every semester, and who would figure out that rounding would give some of y'all more trouble than the trigonometry, which makes absolutely no sense to me, but it happens. So you're just, a lot of y'all are rounding to the wrong place, you're rounding incorrectly, whatever. So maybe this video will kind of clear things up on you on how to round. The other thing about the rounding, and I've mentioned this several times in my other videos, as you're working through the problem, don't round your answers until you're finished. That's why you're probably missing some of these, because you're rounding to the 10th or the 100th place as you go, and that's causing you to be off just enough. So I say 4 decimal places, and that way you'll be fine. Reason being is, people that work these problems, the math people that write these textbooks, myself, we don't round till we're done at all. But what we do is we do chain calculations on the calculator. So we're just carrying over previous numbers. So they're carried out, all the way. And that's why your answers are different than probably the books, especially if you're rounding to 1 or 2 decimal places. So, if you're working these problems and if you carry them out to 4, that should be good enough. And so what do I mean by 4? Let me see if I can see if it make this work at all. All right, you got that calculator there. That's 2.7911 on. So when I talk about 4 decimal places, I mean I would, if I was going to write that number down to continue working with it, I would make it 2.7911. All right, yeah, it's a little bit more work, but I mean if you're missing them because of rounding, then you should start doing it. All right, so that's that. Coming up is exam 3. Exam 3's got law of sines, law of cosines. A little different. You can't use Pythagorean theorem because we're not doing right triangles in this next section. We're doing what are called oblique triangles. So they're triangles that don't have a 90-degree angle. So you're going to have to do the law of sines and law of cosines depending upon the situation you encounter. They can be difficult too. Okay, law of cosines is a big formula. It can be very difficult. So it's going to take a lot of practice. There are rules for when you use law of sines, rules when you use law of cosines. But make sure when you do law of cosines, always, go for the angle opposite the largest side first. That's just a little tidbit. Hopefully that's in one of those videos you're looking at. But that's just one thing to think about. And then you also have your exponential equations and logarithms. Okay. Know how to change from one form to the other, because that's how you solve. Okay. Changing from one form to the other. So it gets tougher. It just does. All right. But it's not impossible. It's not impossible. That being said, the main thing you've got to prepare for is the final. June 22nd, okay, is when it's due. Now, you don't have to take it that day. You can take it the 21st, the 20th. You can take it whenever, as long as you're done with exam 3. So it's ready to go. You can either, go on the website here. I've got proctored final exam information. I've got a little tab there. I've got links to the BCTC Proctoring Center, other schools. You can look that up, and then also ProctorU if you have a webcam and you want to take it at home. It's going to cost you extra, but that's a choice. Don't forget, you get one sheet front and back of notes. So you can put whatever you want. I would put, example, what I would do if I were you. I would work the review, and then, because the review and the final come from the final comes from the review questions. Okay, so it's pretty much the same test. Just different numbers, but the same topics. I would just start with number 1. If you're good at number 1, then don't write an example down. If you get stuck on number 2, write an example down. Put it in order, because the test is going to be in the same order. All right. So in other words, your polar questions or your circuit questions are going to be in the same order on the final as they are on the review. This way you can be organized and write an example down. I mean, use it to your advantage. You get one page front and back of whatever you want. I don't care what it is. So, if you go through the practice exam and you don't understand how to do something, then write it down. Write down an example so you know what to do when you get to the final. I want you to pass. Okay. But you need to be practicing the practice exam without, anything but your cheat sheet. Don't use your book. Don't use other notes. Don't use websites. It's not going to help you. Okay, it's not going to help you. All right, so that's the deal with that. Again, all the information is in the Proctored Final Exam Information tab. If you send me an email asking about what I just told you about these notes, I know you didn't watch my video, and I'm just going to redirect you to that website. I'm not going to, say the same thing over and over again. I just don't do that. I feel like I've given you the information by video and when I did the class tour. And again, it's right there. So you just read it yourself and understand what you can and cannot take. So make sure you set up an appointment if you have to. If you can't make it to the proctoring session at your local campus and you don't have a webcam, there are other options. We've used public libraries before. They're often open later. So if you work and you can't find a time to fit your schedule, that's an option. But they need to send me an email requesting the instructions. Okay? All right. So I think that's it. Good job for those of y'all that did well on the test. For some of y'all that struggled, it's not over yet. Okay? You've got another test and the final. Just make sure if you have questions that you ask me. I will do the best I can. Also, if you're still one of those having trouble with rounding, watch my rounding video. All right, so that's all I got. Have a good rest of the week. You got stuff coming up. It ends quick. Exam 3, is a week from Wednesday. You got your first quiz in 2 days on law science. So, it moves quick. All right, so anyway, get busy. Good luck. And again, if you got any questions, let me know.